Tiddles the Cat and the Charm Offensive. Written and read by Phil Humphries. With all the recent excitement of the new neighbours and the dog next door, Tiddles found that her family were not paying her due attention. The children were captivated by Baxter, the dog from next door, and paid little heed to Tiddles' own needs. She considered how to deal with this situation. On this occasion, she felt that a charm offensive was called for. In the past, she had gained attention by more imperious means: a quick nip of the ankles, a rearrangement of the sewing box, an early morning alarm call. All of these had been part of her armoury. Whilst it is true that these actions always guaranteed a higher level of attention, it was generally not the sort of attention she sought at the moment. Tiddles wanted to be loved. She wanted to be cosseted. She wanted obeisance. Tiddles set her mind to considering a series of playful and charming actions that would put her back at the centre of the family's affections. However, first things first. She needed a bite of lunch and a little nap. It was mid-afternoon by the time she felt ready to embark upon her plan. The first thing would be just a softening up exercise. Her woman had been in the kitchen most of the afternoon, which, to be truthful, she had found a little annoying, as it had interfered with her nap. Tiddles almost yielded to the temptation of a sharp scratch of the ankle. But no. Today was about reminding them how delightful and charming a cat she could be. Tiddles waited in the hallway until she heard the woman coming out of the kitchen, then sauntered up to meet her and weaved the magic of rubbing her furry sides and tail in and out between the woman's legs. There was a crash, then an oath, and a shout of, "You stupid cat! What do you think you're doing? Look at that! Cake all over the floor! This is going to take ages to clean up. Never mind the mess!" There was much more along these lines, but having checked that it had not been a cream cake, Tiddles decided to make herself scarce. The first effort had not gone well, but the fairy rub was the least of her charms. A new strategy was called for. The second show of affection was to be the cute kitten. Tiddles recalled the gales of laughter when the children had found her poking out of one of their Wellington boots, and determined to reprise the role that evening. What Tiddles had forgotten was that 2 years ago, to put it delicately, there had been rather less of her than there was today. She tried inserting herself in one of the children's boots, but it was clear no more than a paw could be comfortably accommodated there. She moved on to the man's boots. They were much more substantial, and rather taller. She pulled one down from the shoe rack to try it for size. There was a crash and a splash which caused her to leap halfway up the nearby staircase. From this vantage point she could see that the boot's descent had caught an umbrella, which had caught a book, which in overbalancing had pushed a vase of flowers off the small window ledge by the front door. She also had a very good view of the man and woman arguing about who had left what where and how such a thing could have happened, and their faces, as they caught sight of Tiddles, sat sheepishly on the stairs. That evening she was offered dry cat food and water from the tap. These were meagre rations for any cat, but for Pinkle-Paw Cleopatra Empress the Third, her full title, this was beyond the pale. She would have to bring out the big guns. That night she hunted for the very tastiest morsel she could find. As morning dawned, Tiddles was curled up comfortably in her deluxe cat basket, dreaming of catnip, and she was suddenly awoken by a terrible cry from upstairs. The man appeared in his pyjamas, holding something in a tissue. Tiddles could see the tail hanging down out of the package in the man's hand. Had they been so impressed by the gift left at the foot of their bed that they had brought the juicy mouse for her to enjoy for breakfast? No. Tiddles found herself unceremoniously dumped directly out of her basket into the back garden with a stream of invective that, whilst she understood little of it, clearly conveyed a sense of considerable displeasure with her gift. She retired to the back of the garden, tail down, whiskers drooping. She had tried her very best to please them, and this was the result. Next time she would show the iron claw in the velvet glove. The longer she sat there, the deeper her anger burned. She set off on a patrol of her territory, frankly looking for trouble. In front of her house, she saw Baxter, the dog from next door, being bullied by the big brown dog from round the corner. Baxter was backed into a corner and starting to whimper. This was too much for Tiddles, who, understandably, viewed Baxter as one of her subjects, if not her actual property. She was overwhelmed by her sense of injustice, and let us be clear, injustice on her own account, and leapt at the brown dog, teeth and claws at the ready, hissing and spitting. The big dog simply turned tail and ran, which was quite the best thing he could have done under the circumstances. Immediately there was a great hubbub of excitement, and she found herself swept up in her woman's arms and held close. Both Hare people and the neighbours were out, along with all the various children, all of them praising her bravery, her selflessness, her self-sacrifice, her nobility. She was an heroic cat, the best cat that ever there was. She was lavished with caresses and strokes, and showered with the riches of unlimited munchies, and turkey and gravy, and a bowl of sparkling mineral water. She was back on the throne of the family's affection, as was her due. Perhaps, she mused, dogs could have their uses after all.